Well-known author, investment banker, consumer advocate, analyst, trader. Chris Markowski is the watchdog on Wall Street.
You want answers?
Exposing the lies and myths that the big brokerage firms, the mainstream press, and the government are pushing to keep Americans away from financial freedom.
You can't handle the truth.
Bringing America the truth about what really happens in the financial world.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not here to indulge in fantasy, but in political and economic reality.
This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
You know, I've been trying really hard to be that's so much forgiving. I've always been a person that forgives. I don't forget things. I don't think it's healthy to forget things, but I always forgive, and I'm trying to get even better at it. I am. However, the people that are running the show, the people that we see on TV, are making it very, very hard. Very, very hard to live with grace. I mean, I say my prayers at night. I want to wake up the next day. I want to be a better person. But I'm sorry. I keep reverting back to Michael Corleone in Godfather 1 when he's telling Carlo, his brother-in-law, who set up his brother to be killed, don't lie to me. You're only insulting my intelligence. And this is honestly, this is how I feel when I see Janet Yellen and Jay Powell and these various different economic advisors that they parade on TV, or some esteemed economist from Princeton or Harvard going out there and telling us that inflation, it's not really here. It's transitory. Right. Sure. Last week, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and that's the name of the gentleman they want to put in charge after him. This gentleman by the name of Abel. The Berkshire Hathaway, they had their annual meeting, and it's something that I pay attention to. I do. Let me be perfectly clear about my thoughts on Warren Buffett, because, again, we like to invest in a very similar fashion as he does. Now, we're not capable of doing the things for our clients that Buffett does. Buffett, through Berkshire Hathaway, can buy up private companies, all sorts of stuff. But he understands value. Does he get it right all the time? No. Do we get it right all the time? No. But he understands value and trying to buy stuff on sale. I get all, and I think that that's great. But to make no bones about it, I pointed this out before in the program. Again, the media does this. They present Warren Buffett as this harmless, lovable, grandfather-type guy. Make no bones about it, Warren Buffett is a shark. I described this past week. There was a skit back in the 1970s. Every time I think about it, I laugh, from Saturday Night Live. It was right when Jaws came out, and Chevy Chase was playing a land shark and would, like, knock on a door and be, Girl Scout cookies. Ding dong. And it was a shark, they try to convince the person to open up the door. Anyway, neither here nor there. He's a shark. Make no bones about it. Why do you think Warren Buffett is in favor of wealth taxes, inheritance taxes? Why do you think that that's the case? He sells insurance. It's one of his biggest businesses. And if people are going to have a huge inheritance tax, they're going to buy a ton of his insurance. But anyway, neither here nor there. Oh, not to mention the fact is that when you have huge inheritance taxes and family businesses screw up, well, he can jump in and he can buy them on the cheap. And he's done that throughout his career. He's bought up smaller, family-size, not publicly traded businesses that have to liquidate because of an estate sale. But again, let's take that and put that aside. He's still a very astute investor. Now, Buffett came out last week and said this: we're seeing very substantial inflation. You don't say. We're raising prices. People are raising prices to us, and it's being accepted. Now, again, we had some economic news that came out talking about household income. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the program. We'll also talk about transfer payments a little bit later on in the program and how much that's become. Let's talk a little bit about Buffett and Munger and some of the things that they had to say. Well, he seems to think here that, again, he's not going to come out and admit that these people in charge are lying. But how could they not be? Either they are woefully ignorant or they are lying to us on a regular basis. That is the reality. Now, some of the other things that we'll get into inflation a little bit later on in the program. Some of the other things that Buffett had pointed out during his little talk, and he made this point, and I think that this is an important one. Again, many of the things that he talked about are echoes of what we discuss here on the program. He actually put up a slide of the top 20 companies in the world by market capitalization. 5 of the top 6 U.S.-based. But then he put up a slide of the 20 top companies in the world from 1989. None of the 20 from a little over 30 years ago are on the present list. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. The top company back in 1989 had a market cap of $104 billion, which was the Industrial Bank of China. Now, that was still back in the days when people thought that China was going to take over the planet. This is a very, very good lesson. It's a very good lesson that we try to get across here on the program. Again, most investors nowadays, they're going to look at this stuff and, oh, I got my Robinhood account. I know so much more. Doggy coin. How about that? Right. Again, Buffett talked about auto companies from the early 20th century and how many auto companies came out and how many of them failed and just how difficult it is to basically end up being on top. We talked about it here on the program several weeks ago. We talked about Amazon. Talked about Amazon when Amazon first came out. When Amazon first came out, many other internet retailers came out. And I used to get one prospectus after another prospectus after another prospectus on my desk every single day. Many of them were dog poop. They just were dog poop, and they were being sold because investment banks could sell them, because the greater fools out there in investment land would buy them. And they're saying, hey, you know what? We're just providing what people want. And they were. Again, I can't do that. I mean, I didn't have an ethical bypass at birth. I'm not going to sell crap to people just because I can sell crap to people. Wall Street, on the other hand, trust me, you come to they will sell it to you. If you're willing to buy it, they are going to sell it to you. But some of the ones that were fascinating back at the time were some of these internet retailers. Use this as an example. Take a look at Amazon and CD Now and Pets.com, and there was a myriad of others out there. Why did Amazon succeed? And if you look at the Amazon prospectus from the beginning, it doesn't mention many of the things that they're involved with today by any stretch of the imagination. They figured it out. They figured it out. And again, we became an investor in Amazon, not at the beginning. Not at the beginning, later on, as the company evolved. And he talked about this as well, because he actually got some questions from people saying, because he's sitting on so much cash, why didn't you get in and put billions of dollars to work at the bottom back in March of 2020? And Charlie Munger, who's, let's just put it this way, he's not as diplomatic by any stretch of the imagination like Buffett is. It's like, you think we can bottom tick a market? Which is another important lesson. Nobody is capable of getting in at the bottom. No one is capable of getting out at the top. It's just not possible. You just can't do it. Don't try to do it. Don't try to time the markets. You try to prepare yourself for situations when the market does sell off, when it does correct, because it's going to do that, people. It's going to do that. And sometimes it's going to be worse than just doing that. Sometimes you're going to have massive sell-offs. You don't lose your head. And why do guys like Warren Buffett, who's been doing this, okay, we got about on our third decade at Markowski Investments. Warren Buffett's 90. He's been doing this longer than I have. But why are certain people in this industry, why have we been able to survive? Why have we been able to, not just survive, that's wrong. Why have we been able to thrive, and our clients have been able to thrive over extended period of times when there's been such calamities out there? We don't deviate. We don't deviate. We have, you want to call it this way, I'm going to use it. Last weekend I had, was orthodoxy. I have an orthodoxy. We have an orthodoxy when it comes to what we do. Why am I not in doggy coin? Well, let me count the ways, okay? Let me count the ways. We have an orthodox way of doing things that has survived the test of time. Does this mean that we are not going to encounter interesting times, odd things? Yeah, like right now. Right now, Buffett gave a long soliloquy on interest rates and how interest rates are like gravity, financial gravity. I get that. And like myself, Buffett said as well, this is the most interesting, he called it the most interesting movie we've ever seen, talking about these ultra low interest rates and what's taking place right now, the current economic environment. It's challenging, but doable. Okay, I know, but a lot of people out there, look at the valuations, look at all this stuff. Should we continue to keep buying into tech? Well, again, if you have a discipline, if you have a way of doing things where you take profits off the table and you reallocate those assets, and guess what? Some of those assets might underperform the S&P over a period of time. But that's not what they're there for. Proper management, managing your entire pool, what you're doing, cutting here, snipping here, this is what you need to do. Anyway, we're going to do a little bit more from Buffett's little chit-chat last week, and a lot we've got to go over on the program today, that's for sure. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Get there. I'm inviting each and every one of you to become a part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family, our personal CFO program. I'm telling you right now, I am thrilled. People are taking advantage of our attorneys, are taking advantage of our accountants, and obviously not taking advantage. It's our pleasure working with us to help put you on the right path. Get to our website, watchdogonwallstreet.com. Sign up for our personal CFO program. We also have a 24-hour day help hotline. That's 800-471-5984. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Another bigwig investor the past week, Leon Cooperman. He's a guy who's been kind of butting heads with Elizabeth Warren when it comes to wealth taxes, and he's been talking about the next market crash that's going to come. He doesn't know it's going to come. He didn't come out and say that, but he says the next one's going to make investors' heads spin. Do you want to be in a situation when, because it's going to come, the next market crash, correction, whatever it may be, do you want your head to spin? Or do you want to be cool? Do you want to be cool when it comes to situations? You want to take advantage of these situations? And it made me think about, again, a lot of times that people understand by listening to this program over the past couple months. If you hadn't, I recently lost my dad, who I was very close with. And he and I were fishing buddies since I was little. And when we were little, we used to go fishing at this place called Lock 7. And my brothers and I would go down to the end of the lock, and we'd be catching sunfish and perch and having a grand old time. But my dad would fish for carp, these huge carp, and make these cornmeal balls. And they're not easy to catch. They have to, suck down the cornmeal ball, and they have to run. And then he'd let us, after you catch these huge fish, let us help him reel these massive fish in. Carp are bottom feeders. They are. They're at the bottom. They eat the bottom feeders. It's not like we'd eat the fish. You catch it, we let it go. But you want to invest kind of like a carp. You want to bottom feed. You want to take advantage of those situations when they occur. Again, the sell-off back, Great Recession was one of the greatest opportunities for investors I've ever seen. The sell-off last spring, last March, was a phenomenal opportunity if you took advantage of it. Unfortunately, more often than not, people do the exact opposite. They freak out. They all of a sudden think that the world is going to end, that it's this different this time. I don't know where they divert their money to. I know after the Great Recession, people were buying coins, for crying out loud, and other junk trinkets. No. Got to keep your cool. Anyway, quickly on this, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have been coming under pressure. Pressure from woke institutions. Yeah, woke institutions out there, CalPERS, many others, concerned that Warren and Charlie are not doing enough in regards to environmental, social, and corporate governance, otherwise known as ESG investing. Now, again, Wall Street is going to have a field day with this because, again, they will sell you anything. Do you understand? If you want it, they are going to sell it to you. Okay? And you know what? They're going to pat themselves on the back and tell everybody how star-spangled awesome they are for putting together these new investments that are woke. Yeah. You'll see. I'm just telling you. It might make you feel good, but you're going to lose money. Mark my words. And again, many companies out there will try to get their little ESG stamp of approval. It's kind of like, in mom's shop, and I only buy organic. It's stamped organic. It's going to be that. It's going to be a label at some point in time. Anyway, also want to talk quickly crypto. Okay. Charlie and Warren, like myself, very, very skeptical of cryptocurrencies. Now, mind you, have we dabbled a little bit with our super speculative money for it's right for people just to mess around with? Understanding that, guess what? You could lose it all. See, hey, you know what? We're not all serious with everything here. Okay, I get it. If you're in a certain situation, we have certain investors that will invest in something with the knowledge that it's, they're swinging for the fences. They're going to either hit a home run or they're going to strike out. Now, this is not good for people that are building up wealth. No, this is when you get to a certain point in time and you can afford to do stuff like that. But anyway, Munger called Bitcoin disgusting and contrary to the interests of civilization. Actually, what was funny too was Bill Maher on his program last week on HBO went off on cryptocurrency. And his right, and one of the lines he gave there I thought was great. I'm always trying to explain belief and how stuff only works if you believe in it. Many investment things out there, right? These things that they're making up. He described cryptocurrency, this is kind of funny. I forgot about this, as Tinkerbell's light. You know how Tinkerbell, if children believe in Tinkerbell, then she gets all of her power? Well, that's exactly That's exactly what cryptocurrency is. It's a belief system. Okay? Again, Dogecoin or Dogecoin was put together as a joke. It's worth more than Ford now. Now, you try to explain that to me. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Just get warmed up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
Chris Markowski is the watchdog on Wall Street. The only man who is taking on the Wall Street establishment. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
I was reminded by my producer, Johnny, was telling me how, Oakland A's are now taking Dogecoin for tickets. Let me put this to everybody. One of the things I try to do in this conversation that we have every single week here on this radio program, and if you choose, again, we do our podcast every single day. You can sign up for that. I try to basically lay out where all the BS is. Most people in this country are good people. They are. And unfortunately, they're great people, but they're not street smart. And things that other people are capable of doing that happen all the time, that they think just happen more often than not in movies. No, it's real. There's a lot of people out there that, again, they don't have that Adam Smith capitalistic values that you and I have, where both people can sit down at a table and walk away happy, where the goal isn't trying to get over on somebody else, where you're not constantly trying to BS someone else. Now, why do I talk about this? Why am I bringing this up? Oakland A's are taking Dogecoin. This company's taking this coin and that coin. You do understand that that's just marketing. As soon as they put that out, they put it on the PR Newswire, and it allows for various different networks to run with that story. It's free advertising, people. Please, it's not going mainstream, all right? Anyway, let's again, another thing that happened. I wanted to touch on it this past week, too. Robinhood. Everybody remember Robinhood? I still, it's amazing to me that that's wrong. It's not really amazing. They serve the powers that be. Robinhood has a purpose, okay? It's helping out these high-frequency traders and very wealthy guys that work at Citadel and many others. After what happened with GameStop and what that whole entire thing, Robinhood should have been shut down. It should have been shut down immediately. Well, Robinhood needs to get its big-time investors out, many of whom are in that big club that we talk about every single week here on the program that you are not a member of. That's right, the Watchdog on Wall Street, axis of evil, big business, politicians, mainstream media. Robinhood has a lot of angel investors, venture investors, not you, that want to get their money out. The way that they get their money out is either selling their position to somebody else or when Robinhood goes public. So Robinhood wants to go public. Well, they had to release some of their numbers. And as it turns out, they raked in $331 million in the first quarter. Now, how could that be? Again, you still have people out there. What? They don't charge for commissions. Okay. Let me explain this to you. Okay. There's no such thing as free. Okay. They have to keep the lights on. People have to get paid. It's called selling order flow. They present themselves as Robinhood. We're not charging for commissions. We're awesome. We're for the new investor. No. They're selling information. They're selling information to the bigwigs out there that can front run your trades, know where your money is going, and take advantage of it. And again, I try to understand what the difference between that is and, well, I don't know. Let's take a movie Wall Street, okay? Let's take a movie Wall Street where they're following around, what was it, Sir Larry Wildman, okay, trying to find out where his money was going to go. That's what Gecko wanted to find out because he wanted to front run that trade. It's legally done now. And again, they could make it illegal, but they don't because, again, people that are a part of the club are making too much money on this. And the funny thing is that, again, you had Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger criticize Robinhood, turning the markets into some basically half-assed casino. Oh, and Robinhood people come out and talking about, yes, you elites have been making money for the markets, and we are offering an opportunity. You're full of crap, man. You're full of crap, and you know it. Again, there's a whole class of people out there, and people, most Americans, they can't get their arms around this, and this is why people become victims all the time, greater fools. There's a lot of sociopaths. There's a lot of people that can look straight into a television camera, talk right into a microphone, look you straight in the eye, and lie to you. Again, we pride ourselves in trying to provide you the tools to figure out who these people are. Got to take a break. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Again, become a part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family, our personal CFO program, podcast, newsletter, you name it. Watchdog on WallStreet.com or give us a call, 800-471-5984.
Lips, sweet surprise.
You should believe in math, not magic. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Welcome back, everybody. This is kind of a touchy topic. We do a lot of touchy topics here, and I saw this story this past week, and it was upsetting. Again, this is people listen to the podcast. I did talk about this past week, but it's that important. We work with our clients. You guys, listen, you're family here, okay? And family's supposed to be honest with one another. Now, I grew up in a very Italian household, Mediterranean. I've got my mother-in-law living with me. Now, again, everybody has to be very honest. We can be loud, yeah, as you can tell. But that's okay. That's okay. It's because we care. And we care about our clients. We care about you. I care about you, my listeners. And I see stories like this, and 44% right now of older millennials. Older millennials are 40. Yeah. Older millennials are coming on almost 40 years old at this point in time. They already have a chronic health condition. I know I can talk about stocks and markets and crypto, all these things, rip-off scams here on the program. I can't stress enough, people, the importance of investing in your health and taking care of yourself and doing everything and anything you can to try to live as healthy a lifestyle as you can. It is a major issue in our society. You know, you see stories, and again, this is something that the news doesn't talk about. They'll say, well, the United States of America spends this percentage. I don't know what it is. I don't know, 17%. I don't know how much it is of our GDP. I forgot. I saw the numbers the other day. The rest of the world spends this, and their outcomes are better. Maybe their certain outcomes are better, maybe because they live a healthier lifestyle all along. Yeah, that old thing we had when we were kids, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You don't want to be going to the doctor. And many of these chronic health conditions are health conditions that are self-imposed. And I'm telling you right now, they can get very, very expensive down the road. A simple gym membership that you use on a regular basis, or maybe in a workout app or whatever it may be, a walk around the block can go a long way. It really can. Anyway, talking about this too here, I saw this past week. The Federal Reserve is pushing this idea and programmable money. We talked about the digital yuan, and I did get quite a few questions about this. And I explained how this could get dangerous pretty quick. Not, you can talk about the government tracking your every move here, there, and everywhere. It's not just that. It's the fact that they could take it away. If you have nothing tangible, they can make it go away. Or they can make you an offer you can't refuse, saying either you use it or you lose it. Many, not that many, maybe 10, 11 years ago. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no, maybe a little bit less than that. We found out that the government was putting together this plan to start another type of Social Security system called guaranteed government accounts, where they would force you in your IRAs and 401ks to buy treasuries. Got to take a break. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street. Bringing America financial freedom one listener at a time. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Yeah, I was a little sloppy with the clock last segment. I didn't get started talking about something that's kind of in depth here. We're talking about this digital currencies, the Fed digital dollar, digital yuan, and again, they can force you to spend money. Can't take your money out. Well, guess what? You're going to lose this money. It's the same thing as negative interest rates. And several years ago, we found out that the Treasury Department was actually working on an alternative investment program, retirement program. Teresa Geralducci, huge leftist economist out there, pushing for these guaranteed government accounts, which is basically Social Security Part 2. And what it would do is say, hey, you know what? No more 401ks, no more IRAs. Your money would go into a guaranteed government account where they would guarantee you a rate of return of 3% over inflation. Now, we already know the government lies to us about inflation numbers. Basically, the government would say, hey, you got to give them your money, which is, in essence, you had to, again, lend the money to the government. You'd be buying government bonds. Think about the type of racket that actually is. What a scam that is, how dangerous it is. But this is what happens, people, when we start looking to Washington, D.C. to save us all the time. They instituted this. They first started talking about this right after the Great Recession, when everybody's coming out there, people lost their life savings. No, they didn't. Now, if they made poor choices in their portfolio, if they didn't have their portfolio, they didn't have their finances handled properly, yeah, they probably lost money. But you don't have to. You don't have to. Anyway, got to get into some ripoffs and scams. I know we talked about this, explained this a couple weeks ago. The type of money right now that we're looking at when it comes to Archegos, the hedge fund that blew up. Let's put this in perspective. 300 times levered up. Do you understand what that means? So if you are trading with $1 billion, if you have $1 billion, they're allowing you to play around with $300 billion. That's, again, I can't tell you, people, what type of nitroglycerin, how dangerous this stuff is. And people are worried. They're worried that there are many more Archegos out there. And could some of these financial services, these big banks, could we have to see another bailout? I don't know, maybe. When I'm asked this question, what would happen if Credit Suisse, or what happened if one of these banks started going down again? They over-levered, they screwed up with one of their hedge funds. Well, we'd probably bail them out again. They are, like we said, they're too big to fail. We don't prosecute anybody when they lie, cheat, and steal from any of these firms. They'll probably have to get together. They'd probably force the other banks to help bail them out in the same way that they bought Bear Stearns out at the exact bottom. But again, it's messed up. And again, this is part of the club that you are not a part of. Let's talk about some ripoffs and scams here. I'm just going to go back to some of our new listeners out there. We're constantly adding affiliates around the country. I get bombarded over the course of the week with scams, ripoffs, things that happen, not only just from the news. Maybe some of them I've never heard of, I didn't know about. Some of them, however, we have. And we found out about them based upon our listeners calling up and asking us questions. What do you think of this guy? Do you know this guy? Is this guy on the up and up? And it doesn't take us long. Doesn't take us long to figure out who's a crook and who isn't. It was a story here. 2 people convicted in a nationwide investment fraud scheme that caused $25 million plus in losses. This was based out of Virginia and Port St. Lucie. You had attorneys and all sorts of people involved, went after investors at or near retirement age by convincing them to invest in companies owned and controlled by one of the heads of this thing. Again, the guy who was in charge, this guy by the name of Bank, his last name was Bank, Daryl Bank. All you needed to do was to do an internet search. All you needed to do was to look up and see that Bank was barred from the securities industry. But again, another thing you needed to understand and recognize is that everything in life that has meaning, value, and worth involves work, time, and effort. One of the things that are pretty constant, I explain again and again, world's second oldest profession, get-rich-quick con artists. Okay, they utilize greed and they utilize fear. That's what they use to sell you. And many of these investments, still to this day, these people will smack a guarantee on the box. And I always go back to that scene in Tommy Boy, where Tommy Boy is trying to sell his brake pads. And the guy's like, oh, our competitor there, Zelensky, he's got a guarantee on the box. People like a guarantee. And Tommy Boy explained that he could defecate in a box, he used a different word, and smack it with a guarantee, and then you would get a guaranteed box of what? Poop. This is what they're selling you. Guaranteed poop investments. Poopy, smelly, stinky. Stay away from these crooks. And if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate. Watchdog on wallstreet.com is our website. We have their personal CFO program. We have our account repair kits. We've got all that great stuff. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. Also, our 24-hour-a-day help hotline, 800-471-5984. We'll be back.
Chris Markowski is the watchdog on Wall Street. Well-known author, investment banker, consumer advocate, analyst, trader. Chris Markowski is the watchdog on Wall Street.
You want answers?
Exposing the lies and myths that the big brokerage firms, the mainstream press, and the government are pushing to keep Americans away from financial freedom.
You can't handle handle the truth.
Bringing America the truth about what really happens in the financial world.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not here to indulge in fantasy, but in political and economic reality.
This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Yes, it is. Welcome. Welcome back to the one, the only, the Watchdog on Wall Street show. We've never demonstrated or shown any fear when it comes to covering certain topics here on the program, when it comes to covering societal issues, things that we feel are important. It's important for you to know. It's important for us to understand where the country is going, where we are, where we're heading. It's important from an investment standpoint to understand where flows of money are going to be headed. It also, it matters as well as in regards to, hey, you know what? Do we like this path that we're on? I'm very concerned. I'm very, very concerned about this desire right now by the people in charge, by a large swath of the population, to put together this cradle-to-grave government. Last week, we went back to the life of Julia with Barack Obama. What these handouts and giveaways, this latest $1.9 trillion plan is, it's basically extending handouts and giveaways to the middle class. It is getting more and more Americans addicted to government. In his 1935 State of the Union message, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt proposed Social Security, unemployment insurance, and aid to dependent children to help the deserving poor. But again, forgotten today, added a warning. Again, everybody keeps saying, this is the mainstream media, how little they know. You know, that's a funny thing, how a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. FDR warned, the lessons of history confirmed by evidence immediately before me show conclusively that continued dependence on relief induces a spiritual and moral disintegration, fundamentally destructive to the national fiber. To dole out relief in this way is to administer a narcotic, a subtle destroyer of the human spirit. It is inimical to the dictates of sound policy. It is a violation of the traditions of America. That is FDR. Did you ever hear any of the pundits, the anchors in the mainstream media, where they're comparing Biden to FDR and all these plans? Did they ever bring up any of this at all? Hey, listen, based upon what FDR said here, do you think he would agree with what we're doing right now? Every single time the government wants to start pushing more policy, more entitlements, they always bring up FDR. Back in 2012, I wrote a piece entitled Drug Pusher. Title of the column. And I got to remind everybody, all of my columns are archived at watchdogonwallstreet.com going back decades. And I cited an interesting study that was released from the Cato Institute. And the study was entitled Welfare and the Culture of Poverty. Now, their study showed that welfare is both a consequence and a cause of a myriad of conditions that are what we would describe as social pathologies. These conditions include dependency, poverty, out-of-wedlock births, non-employment, abortion, and violent crime. All conditions that one would feel comfortable being associated with substance abuse. I contend that with all the money spent on welfare and entitlements and its horrible side effects, in essence, this was the point behind my column, theoretically, Our nation's most destructive drug problem is welfare. Yeah. And again, I several years later wrote another piece, our United State of Welfare, looking into the amount of money that we have spent on the war on poverty, which are probably, you want to look at this, it's our most expensive war. I mean, we've been in Afghanistan now for 20 years, but we haven't spent $25 trillion in Afghanistan. This is what we've spent on the war on poverty. This is the reality, people. And yet, we get all of these cheerleaders out there asking for more, but not thinking about the consequences. Now, again, I'm going to be brutally honest with everybody. I always am here on the program. This idea that we need to provide child care, pre-K, not even pre-K, pre-K, and the government is going to pay for this stuff, and this is somehow this is good. No, this is not good. This is bad. This is really bad. The government shouldn't be raising your children. I mentioned this past week there was a study that was done. Quebec, the province of Quebec, a few years ago, decided to say, hey, listen, for $5, the government, you're going to be able to drop your kid off at daycare at a young age. And they actually, after time, they found out what happened to these kids and how maladjusted they were. And I know it's anecdotal, but I grew up in a house. My mother was always home. My mother ran a business. She had a daycare business out of our house. And every year, she would only handle at one time one newborn. Now, we'd always have the after-school kids and some of the kids that came after preschool or whatever it may be. And it was always fast. I grew up around tons of kids, and, I enjoy children and take them outside and help my mom out and play and all that good stuff. The kids that were dropped off at a very young age, mom had from a baby on through, they were so well behaved at our house. As soon as their parent came to pick them up, tantrum, start acting up, completely out of character with the way that they act at our house. And again, I'm sorry. And again, this is going to offend a lot of people. I know this has been the big, feminist thing from way back in the day. Get yourself back into the workforce. No, I'm sorry. You have children. Somebody needs to be home and raising those kids. Now, listen, okay, I'm not naive. I know that certain circumstances present themselves from time to time. Well, that's just not possible. I get that. But what is the ideal? Shouldn't we always be trying to strive for the ideal? I know the ideal, we don't live in a perfect world. The ideal is not always there. Shouldn't we be doing more to encourage a parent to stay home with the child? I'm sorry, it's not good. It's not good to have a kid all of a sudden, I got my month home leave and I got to go back to work, and you drop the kid off at some sort of daycare. Are you nuts? I'm sorry. Don't do it. If you're going to have to do that, then do the nation a solid. Don't have children. Okay? It's not an accessory. It's a child, and you're supposed to raise it. I don't care if it's the old Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom, and if father's got to stay home. Somebody needs to be home. I left for school in the morning. My mom kissed us goodbye, handed us our lunches, and left. I came home. She was there. Now, again, I get again. Oh, this single mom here did this, and this one did this. Sorry. You're not going to convince me. Okay, everything in life, there's trade-offs involved. There is. You just can't do that. You know, people ask me, look at this in a different way. Okay, we'll take a step back. People, why don't you guys get a dog? Your kids would love to get a dog. I'm not getting a dog, and yeah, my kids would love a dog, but I'm not getting a dog because it's not fair to the dog. All summer long, we're away at lacrosse tournaments, gone every single weekend. It's not fair to that dog. We can't do that. I don't want to put the dog in a kennel. I don't want to do any of these things. It's wrong. This idea here, and this is part of this extra middle-class entitlement that they keep pushing, where we got to give more money to families for having children. What? What? Why? Having a child, it's expensive. And we should be pushing the idea that if you can't afford to have a kid, don't have one. If you can't afford, if you're not going to be able to spend time with that child, don't have one. No, I get it. You know, the kids get old enough. They're on to middle school, whatnot, and you want to go back into the work. I get all of that. I don't mind. You could start a business, work out of your home. But make no bones about it. Yeah, I happen to be the provider for my family. But my number one job is the fact that I'm a dad. That comes first. That comes first. If you're not willing, again, I'm lecturing here. If you're not willing to make that your number one priority, number one job, then don't have kids. Don't do it. This is not a great direction we're heading in. It's not the job of the government to raise your kids. We talked about this in terms of education. Why schools are better than other schools. Well, it's parental privilege. It's the parents that make the difference. This entire concept, this entire daycare plan, all of these handouts, this is not good for American families. Young children, without a doubt, okay? I'm sorry, you cannot tell me otherwise, are happier, they're healthier, they're better when they spend the day at home with a parent. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com, WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. And we get into our societal issues here on the program because guess what? They're important. It's what really matters. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com, WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Take advantage of all the great stuff that we have, our personal CFO program, our podcast, all sorts of great stuff. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. We'll be back.
Taking Wall Street's liars, crooks, and cheats out behind the woodshed. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street.
I had a picture of two pictures sent to me this past week from Costco. Their roll of paper towels, Costco roll of paper towels, and it's shrinking. I think it went from like 1,600 sheets down to 1,400 sheets in the roll of paper towels, a change in the same price. Hey, trying to get people to say, I didn't recognize, I'm still paying the same price for paper towels. Yeah, but you're getting less of them. Well, you don't think that this is going to continue? You don't think it's going to continue? Right. I've got a long list here. Long list of companies hiking prices. The cost of everything is going up. Everything is out there screaming inflation, inflation, inflation. Yet, again, the powers that be are telling you everything is awesome. Cue up the Lego tune. Everything is awesome. Don't worry. Everything is okay. Yes, sir, your lovely treasuries, Janet Yellen. Did you see her this past week? Did you see? She comes out and she starts talking about how interest rates might need to rise due to inflation. Somebody called her up and said, you better walk that back right now. And later on in the day, she went back and she completely reversed herself. It was like that David Chappelle skit with True Hollywood Stories with Rick James, where he contradicts himself literally from one sentence to the next sentence, says the exact polar opposites without even recognizing it. That was Janet Yellen in one day. This is the Treasury Secretary of the United States. Then we've got it in complete Fed board right now that nobody deviates. Nobody deviates. They all vote the same way. Really? Really? Nobody is dissenting at all, huh? Nobody, huh? Anyway, people, I don't know what to tell you, okay? Again, the Treasury this past week, actually, Buffett mentioned that last weekend, too. We talked about it on the podcast. They sold Treasury bills for 0%. 0%. Again, it's bizarro is what it is. I want to talk a little bit about employment here in this country. Employment numbers this past week. What does it mean? Again, I take a look at the employment numbers and I kind of laugh at the way that they're covered. It's all about labor participation. We still have probably around 9 million, close to 9 million people that have not come back into the labor force. Close to 9 million people. Where are these people? Where did they go? How come they're not coming back into the labor force with everything opening up? Well, why would they? Oh, why are they going to go? Why work? Why work if I live in a country? I live in a country so free. Again, this is from the original Coming to America. When Akeem is there in Queens, he's in Jackson Heights, Queens, and some lady throws garbage at her window. America truly is great. It is so free that one can throw glass in the streets. A country so great where, guess what? I don't have to work. I don't have to get myself a job. No. I can make more than $20 an hour tax-free doing nothing. Watching Netflix, playing video games. Oh, guess what? They're going to even give me more money for food. Oh, yeah. Biden this past week is preparing a food stamp increase, 20%. 20%. You know, you could get up to $820 a month in food stamps. $820 a month. This is outside of the unemployment. Hey, guess what? You can also probably get Section 8 housing as well. Government subsidized rent. And worst comes to worst, they can't evict you anyway. Well, I know they changed that. Courts ruled that the CDC has no business telling landlords that they can't evict people. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, what the hell? I mean, you don't have to pay rent. You have to pay your mortgage. Why work? Again, my clients, you people that are listening to this program, you're dealing with this right now. We're the people that make the country work. Can't find workers. Can't find workers. Again, I'm blown away. Blown away. You've got illegal day laborers where I live here on Long Island demanding, I'm not making this up, demanding, and this is 9 to 4 work, $250 a day cash. That's right, cash. Day laborers, unskilled. People, again, handouts and giveaways are an addiction, and we need to move away from this. I was glad to see the governor of Montana, Greg Gianforte, he's changing things. Again, I don't like this. This is not ideal, but it's a step in the right direction. What he's doing is he's telling people, hey, you know what? You get back to work. Okay, we'll give you a $1,200 bonus. You get some of that unemployment as long as you maintain that job for a month. And he's also going to be requiring people now as well, requiring people to actually show that you're trying to find a job. Montana has lost, 10, 15,000 people from the pre-pandemic workforce. Yet they have 14,000 open positions in the state. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Again, become a part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family. Personal CFO program. All sorts of great stuff. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street. This is the Watchdog on Wall Street.
Yeah, again, going back to Buffett meeting last week, I wrote down something Charlie Munger had said about China. And again, I love Charlie Munger. I do. Okay, a very plain-spoken fella, to say the least. Again, I happens to agree with my point that China is going to allow companies to flourish. And he said they, quote, changed communism because they didn't want to stay poor. A remarkable change coming from such a place, and it has worked like gangbusters. That's right. That's right. It has. I mentioned this last week here on the program. I want to talk about this. Again, here in this country, oh, no, a lot of the Wall Street types, this is terrible. This is awful. We can't allow this to happen. I'm sorry. China just, what did America do? How did they have that financial crisis? Oh, you mean they allowed all of these businesses to be conflicted and involved in all of these various different arenas? Yeah, we're not going to allow that here. We're going to do what America used to do. China ordered its tech companies, its tech giants, to unbundle financial services. There's no more financial supermarkets. They don't want it. They don't want it because it's not good. It just leads to bad stuff. There's that old saying, nothing good happens after midnight. There's trouble or whatever it may be if you're out. Something I think my mother, somebody used to say. I can't remember exactly who said that. But anyway, nothing good happens when you allow for these financial companies to be involved in a myriad of different businesses. So, yeah, they're changing the way things are done. Yeah, I don't mind. They're looking out for their people, okay? You come down, you criticize, and we do. We do. But they're doing this because they're looking out for their people. Anyway, got to talk about China in relation to U.S. taxes, or the taxes that are being proposed by the current administration and being pushed for also by the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. Let me make this very, very clear. Is Biden wants us to have higher taxes than China. That's right. Taxes in the United States are going to be greater than they are in China. Janet Yellen is going around the globe. She's calling up other countries and saying, we need to stop this race to the bottom. We need to stop it. We all need to agree that we're going to charge a minimum when it comes to tax rates. And I want everybody to, again, fortunate that, the media doesn't have half a brain. Basically what she's doing is she's putting together a new Iron Curtain. That's right. A new Iron Curtain. Yeah, you can't go from East Germany to West Germany. Yeah, she wants everybody to be a part of this little cartel, where they can all tax people. And you know what? That minimum tax rate, they'll just raise it when they want to. Now, I'm going to be straightforward and honest with everybody here. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. Now, our experience in life with cartels, again, going back to my childhood, would be OPEC. And all the bigwigs from OPEC would meet in Zurich or Vienna or wherever the hell it may be, and they're going to decide on oil production, therefore controlling the price of oil. So now we got all these big wigs from these OECD countries. You know what? We're going to get together and we're going to make sure taxes don't go below a certain level. It's BS. Countries are going to start to cheat, or they're going to leave. The European Union agrees to this. You don't think that some of these Mediterranean countries are going to say, wait a second here. I mean, I can leave this. I can charge lower tax rates. I can attract businesses to my country. I'm looking out for my citizens. Not to mention, do you think Singapore is going to do this? Do you think China is going to participate in this? No. What they're going to do is they're going to roll out the welcome mat. And they're going to say, come set up shop here. Come do business here. We are providing a better environment, a more friendly environment for your business. This is how the world works. It's called competition. This administration, I know I got you lefties out there listening, tax here, tax there. It's making us uncompetitive. Why do you think they're trying to put together this tax cartel? When Obama did this and raised taxes, companies left. They got up and they left. That's still going to happen. They're just going to go elsewhere. Anyway, Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Become part of the Watchdog on Wall Street family. Again, our newsletter, consultations with our certified financial planners through our personal CFO program. Take advantage. Watchdog on WallStreet.com or give us a call. 800-471-5984.
I'll tell you what you want to know. I could
The only man who is taking on the Wall Street establishment. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the Watchdog on Wall Street show. Isn't it amazing? It all depends upon who is actually in the White House, who's running the show. Depends on whether or not they will actually even mention the price of energy, in particular gasoline. Do you remember back when gasoline first started hitting $3 a gallon? I'm trying to remember the exact year that was. It had to be, 2005, 2006. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly, but oh my God. Remember they brought down all the CEOs and executives from the oil companies, brought them down to Congress. Remember Maxine Waters? Maxine Waters there saying, hey, she had her little, you would call it Freudian slip, Marxist slip, talking about how she wanted to socialize the oil companies. Do you know that premium gasoline, I couldn't believe this, premium gasoline in Southern California, $6. $6 a gallon. I do want to remind everybody this has been a goal. This has been a goal for the Democratic Party for some time. Barack Obama's first energy secretary was a man by the name of Stephen Chu. Stephen Chu, energy secretary, coming out and saying that he wants the United States gasoline prices to be commensurate with Europe's gasoline prices, meaning he wants them to go through the roof. Now, there's a myriad of reasons why gasoline prices are going up, and one of them is, quite frankly, they don't have tanker drivers. And they're saying that this is going to be quite the issue over the summer driving season, trying to get fuel to all of these places. Again, there's certain costs that are involved. Certain truckers like, you know what? I'm gonna move other types of freight because it costs me less as a truck driver, as an operator to move this fuel. Again, we're idiots here in this country. We've gotten away from putting up pipelines, the safest way to get energy from one place to the next. So we've got to deal with this. And of course, not to mention the fact all of the cutting back that the Biden administration has when it comes to energy here in this country, which has been bad for a lot of small energy producers out there, frackers, oil, gas, whatever it may be. Not good. I want to talk about this as well. Talking about dependency. Last week they released the personal income and spending data, and talking about the surge in personal income. Yeah, surge in personal income. People are making more money. No, the government, certain people are, but the government's handing out more money. And one of the most interesting things, and again, lost in the sauce, nobody talking about this. Why do anybody think? 34% right now, 34% of all household income in this country comes from the government. Transfer payments. Yeah, government handouts. 34% of the income in this country. We're all socialists now, I guess. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. We'll be back.
Chris Markowski is the Watchdog on Wall Street. You should believe in math, not magic. You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street with Chris Markowski.
Welcome back, everybody. It was an interesting column this past week. Niall Ferguson in the Wall Street Journal talking about how in 1957 there was an Asian flu that struck the country and how we dealt with it at that point in time and how different things are today. At this point in time, I don't know how the government has failed us to such a degree, and they continue to fail us, that I don't know how anybody has any confidence. It goes back to that, the little boy who cried wolf story. If the CDC came out and started warning that there was some sort of awful virus that was going to come, I wouldn't even believe them anymore. I don't know if you just saw how ridiculous the CDC's recommendations were this summer on summer camps for kids. Yes, summer camps for kids where kids are fully vaccinated and the counselors are fully vaccinated. The kids still have to wear masks outdoors. They still have to social distance. Okay? Still have to social distance. I mean, it's insane. My wife pointed out this past week. My kids were getting them vaccinated. She said, what's the point? What's the point in getting them vaccinated? There's no risk, little to no risk for kids. Kids are healthy, so there's no risk, but there's little to no risk. Yet, again, what difference does it make? What difference does it make if they're going to continue to force them to live like that? In their schools, plexiglass everywhere, having to wear masks. We go to our kids' ball games now. Kids, like high school kids can't go. This is here in New York. I know it's not everywhere. Only 2 parents allowed, and you got the little Gestapo walking up and down the sideline, making sure you have your mask on. Have we lost our minds? There's certain people out there that don't want this to end. You need to come to grips with that. They like it. The teachers' unions like it. They love it. Even The Atlantic, which is very much a left-of-center publication, put out an extended piece about all of the liberals who can't quit the lockdown. It was found out as well. Randi Weingarten. She a scientist? No. She's the head of the UFT, United Teachers Union, whatever the hell it is. Yeah, she was advising the CDC when it comes to schools. A teachers union advising I thought that those were the scientists there. Yeah, we see stories where, again, I don't see how certain areas, quite frankly, are going to come back. New York City lost $1.2 billion in tax revenue. $1.2 billion in tax revenue. Real estate in the city. Rents continue to fall. Rents are continuing to fall even though that they are manipulating the market as well. They continue to manipulate the market. They announced this past week, we're not going to open up Broadway until September. How are these areas going to survive? How is it possible? Again, it's sad, and we're going to look back. We're going to look back at the failings. Again, the failure of government. We keep expanding government, and government continues to fail us again and again and again. Anyway, speaking of failure, calculations were done here. This is a very interesting story. Betsy DeVos, who was the U.S. Education Secretary for Donald Trump back in 2018, she's looking at the student loans and the student loan system that, again, government decided to take it over. Barack Obama did this after the Great Recession, and she's, smelt something fishy here. Something's not right. This is not right. So she hired some people to actually look at this and account for what's going on. And as it turns out that the U.S. student loan program is facing a $500 billion hole. And if you actually take a look at the way the government is accounting, if someone is defaulting on a loan, they roll it into a new loan, and they don't call it any sort of, it's not classified as a loss or an underperforming loan. This is patently absurd. But again, this is government. What's going to become of all of this? I don't know. I think this might be, quite frankly, I think this, I knew it was going to be brought up at some point in time. How Biden's talking now about $10,000 forgiveness per person. I think that they're going to bring out the big guns come the next presidential election and say, hey, listen, all's forgiven. Well, it's not forgiven. Taxpayers are going to pay the bill. And there's going to be another bailout. And it's going to be student loans this time. Again, you take a look at some of these stimulus packages, and we're going to expand Pell Grants, and we're going to expand it. No. It's simple Econ 101. The more you're going to subsidize colleges and universities, the more they are going to charge. If there was no student loans, if there was no student aid given by the government, then colleges and universities would have to price their products based upon what people can afford to pay. And let's just be honest, okay? Let's just be honest. Most of these colleges and universities, these undergrad schools, they're Carnival cruises, for crying out loud. Rock climbing walls. They have colleges and universities in Florida that have lazy rivers that go around campus. I'm not making it up. They do. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Watchdog on WallStreet.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
Her diary sits by the bedside table. The curtains closed. The cat's in a cradle.
You're listening to the Watchdog on Wall Street.